just to set everything up. Let's see. Okay. On my little perch. Hi guys, good evening. Happy Monday. I hope you've had a gorgeous day. It's been really, really sunny and amazing here in Cornwall. So it feels like a new season. It feels like everything's really shifted over the weekend. I know I started this morning feeling just super powered and sparkly and excited. My to-do list was massive, but I was really excited about that. It just all feels like everything's possible again as we move through this kind of full moon energy to the end of eclipse season that kind of peaked last night or early hours yesterday morning and waned through the day. And it just feels like we're into a new phase, like the second half of the year. Obviously for most of us in the UK and lots of parts of Northern Europe, it does feel like a new phase socially in terms of lockdown, and that's not really what this is about. It feels like we're just processing the first half of the year, whatever that looks like for all of us, and moving into something much more exciting and where we can actually take action in all the stuff that's been sat there like under the surface being processed. And so it's really exciting, an exciting time. What did I want to talk to you guys about today? Well, I did a really big soundscape on Saturday night, and it was my cat's come to say hello. That's Coco. Hey Coco. Yes, so I did a really big soundscape on Saturday night, and it was a regular full moon soundscape with a bit of lunar eclipse energy thrown in. But it was also really talking a lot about Saturn, about lots of the astrological stuff that's going on right now, which is all huge, and really talking about the stuff that's kind of happening cosmically and astrologically. And my sessions generally are not, I'm not an astrologer. I have a long history of studying astrology and being interested in it and a reasonable knowledge of it, but I usually include a lot of other stuff in my soundscapes. But there is so much to talk about with what's going on with all the eclipses and the retrogrades and Saturn and everything else that I got nowhere near it. So I thought this week with my little pop-up lives, I'm going to cover a few of those little bits that I didn't get to on Saturday, and some things I just touched on briefly. So I think maybe later this week we'll talk a bit about this, about the devil, who is the tarot signifier for Capricorn, which is the sign in which we had the full moon. We'll probably also talk about, if you guys can see, about these, my grids, and talk a little bit about grids for the season, what we're using, what kind of energy is relevant right now, what we can harness, what we can leave behind, and how we can work with earth minerals to deliver that. And what I wanted to talk about today was really all the other interpretations of this full moon, because I normally touch quite a lot on my shamanic background in these sessions, and we didn't even get near it on Saturday. And you probably are aware that all full moons also have a kind of a customary name, which comes from many traditions, and usually what we know here in the UK is the names that come either from our own kind of farming tradition, the Farmer's Almanac, and these are often heavily associated with the Wiccan or pagan tradition, or we really resonate with the stuff that comes from North America, from the Native American, the Sioux Lakota and the Cherokee tribes and their indigenous understanding of the land. But really what those moon names and moon interpretations are all about is about the land, and about interpretations of the right time to plant, to feed, to harvest, and to really work with the earth and work with the elements and the seasons. So the moon we're in now, which we know as the Capricorn full moon, is also known as the buck moon. And the buck moon is so called because a buck, which is a male deer, deer is much nicer than buck, I think, but it's kind of slightly Americanized. So the buck, or the male deer, usually around July will get his antlers. Very appropriate for Capricorn energy. And the buck will then get his antlers because he's about to get into mating season. And the antlers are really about fighting the other male deer for the love and the mating rights with the doe. So the native tribes, indigenous peoples of North America would know that when they started to see the antlers, that it was time for mating season, and that meant it was time to start moving their crops around and moving some of their more vulnerable animals and stock to different areas of the land, of the reservation. So the buck moon has that kind of Native American tone behind it. It was also often called the thunder moon because July is synonymous with big thundery storms across the American Midwest and across a lot of the areas like South Dakota, where these tribes would be based. So the thunder moon, kind of representing that lovely big kind of summery energy, is something we could also look at this time of year. And I really like that, I think. And in India, it's called the Guru moon. And this is an annual celebration called the Guru Purnima, which if you practice yoga, we all recognise as being an aspect of a particularly well-known mantra. Guru Purnima is about paying respect to your guru, your spiritual teacher. So this is almost kind of the festival of the teacher once a year. That's celebrated with the July full moon every year. So lots of different ways you can understand this full moon if the stars and planets variation all seems a bit too esoteric. But the one I really wanted to talk to you about is something I only discovered quite recently, is how the Buddhist tradition looks at the moons, which is really interesting because I spent quite a lot of time with Buddhism and in the kind of schools and temples and study, but I never knew that actually in Sri Lanka every single full moon is a national holiday. And that's because in certain parts of the world, particularly in Sri Lanka and Thailand, every full moon is used as a kind of a marker, a commemorative point, I made a word up, to different aspects of the story of the Buddha. And there's a really beautiful one, the Esala moon, and Esala is the word for July, and that's how it's called in the Sanala calendar, which is what's used in Sri Lanka and India mostly. The Esala moon, the July moon, is often called Dharma Day in Sri Lanka. I think that's great. I've got a tattoo that says Dharma on my wrist. Can't really see it very well. And Dharma being your own unique path, your own individual path that you're finding your way to, that only you can find, and that path is only for you, it's nobody else's. And I love that concept of Dharma. So the Dharma moon, or the Esala moon, Esala Poya, and Poya means full moon, is marking the occasion of the Buddha's first sermon, where he's kind of, I think the sermon was called the setting out the wheel of the Buddha. Setting out the wheel of Dharma, and it was really the first time that the concept of Buddhism was set out and spoken to the people, and it was also where the Four Noble Truths were first kind of articulated before being written down. So it's a really important moon, and it's really a really important part of Buddhist history and theology to be marking. So I'm going to spend a bit of time this next month or two really having a look at all the moons through this kind of Buddhist lens and seeing how they interpret them and how they mark these important points in the theological history that otherwise I know I certainly wouldn't be aware of. So for me, it's just another way we can really use the moon to really educate ourselves culturally and internationally and in terms of different traditions, and have an opportunity to see what that moon might mean for us in our own life and how we can translate the energy that's being celebrated in different parts of the world. So do look up the Esala Poya, and if you're ever in Sri Lanka, if we're ever allowed to go and travel again, be mindful of full moon holidays, which happen once a month. They're great Buddhist traditions. So what else did I want to tell you about? That was really my little chat on other stuff to do with the moon. I do lots of drumming, shamanic drumming in my sessions, and we did quite a lot last night. And that was really because the moon is a really great time to work with the rhythms of the earth. The full moon illuminates the earth and allows us to kind of stamp and see the ground, and we connect with the earth in our journeying in a very visceral and specific way. And the way the drum works, the shamanic drum works in terms of journeying, is that I often play quite a lot of different rhythms in sessions. Traditionally you would work through 7 rhythms, starting with 3 beats a second and moving up to 7. And every time you increase the beats per second, you move into a higher realm of transcendence, a higher altered state. So it's really how you journey. It's kind of audio ecstasy in lots of ways. It drops you into a deeper and deeper, more profound trance the further we get through the rhythms. So I'm going to do just a couple of moments now. I've just realised as well that having plugged in my microphone, I totally forgot to turn it on, so this might sound rubbish through my phone speaker. I apologise if it does, and I'm only going to spend a moment drumming just to give some of you an idea if you've never heard the drum before. And this is actually, I have got a drum that I made. This is actually one that I did buy for travelling around with, and then I customised the back of it. So I've got an amethyst and all the kind of leather cords that I got, and lots of turquoise, which is protective. It's a protective crystal, a protective stone, and particularly in native traditions you'll see that that combination of turquoise and coral as a sort of protective and powerful amulet, and in lots of different kind of decor and jewellery and kind of tools, really. Anyway, so this is what we would start with. Notice if you close your eyes, see how I missed it then? Close your eyes, how quickly you drop out. And we start to step it up. Accelerated. This would normally go on over like 45 minutes. But the rhythms are not particularly fancy. They're designed to pull you into a trance. It's a more altered state. I literally can't talk and drum. It's really hard. And I do sometimes incorporate other rhythms when I'm playing in soundscapes view. I will often move away from just the consistent, even like pentatonic balance rhythm. And put some other movements in, which is really, I tend to use it at the end where I'm sort of drawing people back from a journey rather than going in, which is how you would traditionally use it, or use it for both. But really the drum is shown to be an amazing way to get into theta state, and this is what the shamanic tradition and the native tradition have always celebrated and utilised their drums for. And traditionally you'd also work with the drum in a skin relevant to the particular moon, so a deer skin drum is what you'd be using through the buck moon, which is why I mentioned it. So I'm going to be getting back into doing a lot more drumming. It's something when I first was doing my online sessions, I could not get the acoustics right for the drum, and it just sounded terrible when I listened back to sessions. And I was worried I tried to play this beautiful gong bath and then destroyed it at the end by this like terrible shouty drum. So I kind of was a bit scared of it. But I think we have nailed it now. And actually listening back to the session on Saturday, I think we've got the acoustics right, just as we come out of lockdown, of course. But I'm also mentioning it because I'm getting an amazing teepee, which is going to be starting sessions on the 24th of July. It's going to be here in North Cornwall. It's a place called Crowdfunder, and if you happen to know or be in Cornwall, as I can see a couple of you are, Becca and Billy and Kerry, Crowdfunder is up near, it's kind of between Camelford and Tintagel. Just up on the north coast, so it's like half an hour south of Bude, about 45 minutes north of Newquay, and it is the most amazing site. My friend Louise bought an old quarry and turned it into something incredibly magical and profound. She's kept it utterly wild. It's all about a celebration of the land, but she has put on there some of the most incredible architectural cabins, which are always in stuff like cabin porn and getting written up in cool things like The Guardian and cool brands all the time as somewhere you should go in the world, never mind just Cornwall. So we're really lucky to have a site there, and I've got an incredible teepee, which is a Sula Kota teepee, a traditional native teepee, which I'm having handmade, and we're going to pop up there the 24th of July for at least 2 months, maybe 3. And the great thing is, because we'll be there in nature and the sides of the teepee roll up, we can have one-to-ones there, we can have small group sessions because they will basically be outside once the sides are rolled up. So if you'd rather be a little warmer and a bit more covered, you can be under the teepee, or you can be outside and still experiencing the sounds. So I'm really excited to be able to bring that to you guys. It's been a long time of recording and playing here in my little spare room by Fistral Beach, and glorious as it is, and it's great that it's finally become a place that's working really well. It's definitely time to get back out there and to get out there in groups as well. So watch this space. I have pinned down the bottom a link to Crowdfunder, because I'm crowdfunding to get this TP brought to life. It is happening no matter what, but I haven't got much left to sell. I might have to sell the cat soon to fund it. So if you have a spare fiver or a spare anything you would like to pledge to the crowdfunder, please have a look, and please watch the videos that I've made and read down about what is really happening and why, because this TP project is really also part of creating a real one-to-one kind of library that I can start to put into some serious scientific research. There is various bits of research into the benefits of sound therapy and sound-induced trance states. There's some stuff out there, there's not enough, and we can be using this medically, we can be using it in remedial therapies. I am a sound therapist because I know firsthand the benefits sound has on tumours, and I just want as many people as possible to be having an opportunity to experience this as an option within their treatment programme. So one of the reasons to really want to get back to one-to-ones as soon as possible is to advance this work that's been on hold for these last 3 months. So so please do read and view the stuff that's there on the Crowdfunder page. Please share it if you can. I know people hate sharing stuff on their social media on our carefully curated little squares, but especially if you have anyone in your life with neurological conditions, with Parkinson's, with Alzheimer's, with autism, this work is really, really important for the future treatment of those conditions. So I hope you will be engaged, be interested, learn something new, and hopefully you will be able to donate to the Crowdfunder and come to the TP. So Crowdfunder does have residences. It has incredible cabins which are amazing to sleep and stay in. I've stayed there many times. And if you're not in Cornwall and you'd like to be, and who wouldn't like to be, then you can come and stay there and hang out and meet all the crew at Crowdfunder and come and get some sound as well. So all to play for. Thank you so much for stopping by this Monday evening. Have a gorgeous festive evening. I think I'm going to talk a little bit about tarot tomorrow, and we're going to look at the signifier card for Capricorn, the devil, everyone's fave. And we'll talk a little bit about crystal grids this week. We'll talk a bit more about the science of gongs and how they're tuned to the planetary orbits. And yeah, we'll see what else comes up. But let me know if there's stuff you want to hear. Thank you guys. Have a great Monday evening. I'll see you soon. Thanks, Billy. Thank you.